The following is a sample from the New York Open Center's podcast series. You can see our website for full program ordering details.
One of the things I find so interesting about this topic, and that I found interesting as I was writing the book, is that it really brought into relief for me the state we're in, really as a civilization in terms of our ability to believe in the spiritual world. Because the 20th century is such an interesting century in terms of what we're allowed to believe in. I mean, the scientific revolution came along and theoretically kicked out everybody who was thinking about invisible worlds of souls and spirits and so forth, and we were going to live in a scientific world, and it was going to be matter, and that was it, and everything was going to be fine. And more inventions would be created, and life was going to get better and better, and we would live for a super long time and have a great time all the time, and it was just going to be a march upward, 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 right? And that's exactly the way it worked, right? Well, not quite, right? So we're at this point where, although science wanted to toss the world of spirit out the back door, we're really at a point where its failure to do so is sort of catastrophically apparent. And I think E.F. Schumacher said in a book called A Guide for the Perplexed, the attempt to live without religion has failed. And we're sort of in a point right now, I think, where a lot of us, and when Ralph gives talks about the history of alchemy and all this kind of stuff, Ralph delivers these super dense lectures here at the Open Center, which have really sort of illustrated this point that we're at right now, where suddenly we find we are sort of allowed to believe in a world of spirit again. But whether we're evangelical Christians living in Iowa, whether we're sort of New Agey, more philosophically minded types who do yoga and live in urban areas, how exactly we're going to be allowed to do this is really an open question. It's sort of like, it's like a bunch of people who live a few blocks from the ocean, and they can smell the ocean in the air. They can sort of smell the salt. They can, on a quiet day, they can almost sort of hear the break of the waves. And they're all talking about what the ocean is like. They can't see the ocean, but they're sort of discussing it. Like, the ocean is like, I think it's full of fish. The other one says, no, I think it's full of, mammals. I think it's full of this. People talking about the spiritual dimension are kind of like people talking about the ocean in an area where they can't quite see it. And my feeling is that I don't really know what the spiritual dimension looks like. I don't think most people know exactly what the spiritual dimension looks like. But I think most people who talk about it are a little bit right. Ken Wilber said at some point, nobody's 100% wrong. So everybody's somewhat worth listening to. The only person, I think, at this particular point in our time who is wrong in this discussion is the person who says, you're all idiots, there is no ocean. That person. That's sort of the point we're at in history, where the person who's saying there is no spiritual dimension, it's a stupid idea, you're all naive, there's only matter, that person is finding it harder and harder to make a coherent, solid case, I think. And I think that's why people are so strident about it. That's why I think sort of the Dawsons and the Hitchens and the people like that, the reason they are so vociferous and so vicious and so loud is because partially they realize, it's just a theory, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think they know on some level that they might be wrong.
That was a sample from the New York Open Center's podcast series. You can see the full program ordering details at our website, opencenter.org.